Hi, how is everybody? I have a bit of a scratchy throat, so I might sound a little hoarse. We were on a road trip and we got home and it's been a couple days just not feeling my best. But I want to show you my last of the season pumpkin recipes. And, and this is really just show off just how versatile this pumpkin is. I have made pumpkin butter. We did the coffee cake and the dip. And today, chorizo and pumpkin soup because I really wanted some soup today. And I had the pumpkin, I had chorizo in the freezer. So it sounds like a really good combination and just really, really highlights how versatile this pumpkin is. So, first up, I got my big pot heating up back here, and we're going to cook this chorizo while we get everything else prepped. I'm just doing a little swirl of olive oil because my avocado oil is empty and I just want to get this chorizo cooking. I'm going to save this chorizo and use it as a garnish on top. I'm not going to put this inside the soup. But we're going to get this cooked off and then we'll use all the good drippings from it. Cook our onions and pumpkin in. So we don't have a lot of ingredients going on here. I had a Cherokee tan pumpkin and I just threw that in the oven and roasted it today. So this is one Cherokee tan. For that much puree, you'd probably need 2 of the little sugar pumpkins or at least 2 15-ounce cans of pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie filling. I've got a can of coconut milk. I've got our Southwest seasoning, and I have some chicken stock thawing out there. And that is it, with the exception of we have some exciting garnishes that we're going to do. Now, if you don't have a shallot, you could do probably a half of an onion. So pumpkins are believed to be 9,000 years old. They're actually native to North America, and they were a part of what was called the Three Sisters, which is how the Native Americans planted, and that was corn, beans, and squash. And the corn was used as the stalks for the trellis, if you will, for the beans to go up. And the beans then provided nitrogen to the soil, and that helped really shore up the roots and the strength of the corn stalk so they could handle heavy winds. And then the squash was planted in between on the ground, and they provided cool shade that kept the ground moist, and it also helped weeds from coming up. Now the pumpkins were a mainstay for Native Americans, and then of course they introduced them to the Pilgrims, and they really helped save the Pilgrims survive those first long cold winters. The pumpkin is so versatile. I mean, soups, stews, cookies, pies, muffins, but it also stores, if you store it correctly, your pumpkins can store for up to 6 months, 6 to 7 months. So once our chorizo's cooked, and you can see this chorizo I have here is a really, really nice chorizo because it has hardly any fat in it. So because I don't have a lot of fat, I'm adding a tablespoon of butter. Might add more, but you could also do olive oil here, or you could do avocado oil. Well, not going to take this so hot that it would burn the olive oil, so you can absolutely go with olive oil. And I just want to let these shallots get a little soft. And then we're also scraping and picking all that fond up off the bottom of that pan. That's all beautiful flavor. So I'm adding my garlic. My shallots didn't take too long because I cut them small, and I have 4 cloves of garlic. And you can really just do a rough chop because we're going to put the immersion blender in here and puree this. And they're only going to take a minute. Now, I just roasted this. I did not even puree it because we're going to puree it. with all of this together, so I didn't see any reason to take that step. That was just gonna dirty the food processor. So in with our pumpkin, and to that I'm going to add 1 can of coconut milk. And if you've seen me cook with coconut milk before, this is one of the brands that I like. And the reason that I like that, let me see if I can find it, is because it is just coconut milk and water. Oh, there it is, the ingredients. Coconut and water. A lot of the coconut milks have gour gum. I don't even know what that is, or want to know, or want to eat it. There's a couple of the brands that don't. So if you're getting your coconut milk, just take a peek and know that it's just coconut and water. And now I'm going to add some of our Southwestern seasoning blend. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 2 teaspoons, and then we'll taste and maybe add more. I'm going to go with a pretty big pinch of salt and a few grounds of our mixed pepper. Now this is going to be something that you can make really quick. Now obviously I had the pumpkin in the oven for about an hour, but I just do that in there while I was doing the dishes this morning and threw the pumpkin in, and so that's not active time, that's just throwing the pumpkin in. Or you can open up a can of pumpkin puree. And if you go that route, you can have this on the table in like 30 minutes. We're only going to simmer this about 15 minutes. Now I de-thawed 2 cups of chicken stock, but I think I'm only going to start with 1 cup. I don't want to just jump in there and make this too thin. And you're going to find that whether it's canned or you made it, all of your pumpkins are going to have a different water consistency. So I would suggest just adding the chicken stock until the soup gets to the consistency that you want it. Some people might like theirs a little thinner. Some people might like theirs a little thicker. And while this is cooking, I'm going to get the immersion blender out, and we're going to go ahead and blend this up. So I'm going to go in with my immersion blender here and puree this. And now this is all about preference and how thick you want your soup. Turn that down a bit. And I think it's just a little too thick. I'm gonna just add a little more chicken stock. Until I get it to the consistency. And then of course comes the all important tasting. I kind of really like that coconutty in there with the Southwest seasonings. And then I think with that chorizo, it's going to be a really interesting combination. And I'm just going to add another 1/2 teaspoon of our Southwest blend. And again, that's why it's always good to start and then add more. Once you put it in there, you can't take it out. It's in there. And I think a pinch of salt. And just like that, we have this beautiful bowl of pumpkin soup in no time. And I'm just going to let that simmer for a minute while we get our toppings ready. Now, getting ready for our toppings. We've got the chorizo, which is going to give us some spice. I have some salted toasted papitas, and that's going to give us some crunch. The Cherokee tan pumpkin doesn't really have a whole lot of seeds in it, and not enough to toast for this, so we're going to use these. And now I have some coconut milk, and I'm just going to kind of whip that up, and it's just going to get a little bit thick for us so that we can swirl it around the top. And if you can, put your can in the refrigerator the night before or a couple hours. The colder it is, kind of the thicker it'll get. And that is unsweetened coconut. So I'm going to add a little sugar to that just to sweeten that up. And this is going to give us spicy, crunchy, and sweet all on top of that soup. Now let's plate up this beautiful soup that we've made. Now I had in the freezer some upside down roasted poblano cornbread, which I'm thawing out to serve with this. I think that would be really good. You can see it's still kind of frozen there, so I think that's going to be delicious. Now, for the fun part. So I'm just going to take that coconut milk that we added a little sugar to, and this is going to add a little more coconut flavor and some sweetness to this, because you do get some spiciness from that southwestern seasoning. And I'm going to crumble some chorizo. Oh, and you know what else I just thought I have in the refrigerator is going to be great with this? Cotija cheese. Perfect. So now we've got some spicy, some sweet. We're going to have crunchy. And now this is going to add some salty for us. I kind of think of cotija as like the Mexican versions of feta. It's got that same kind of crumbly texture and saltiness. Oh, beautiful. And then our pepita seeds. Now, doesn't that look beautiful? Super easy, super fast. Just look how gorgeous that soup is. But just look how beautiful that soup is. I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. So it gave me that the creamy of that soup and that little bit of spice from not only the Southwest seasoning, but from the chorizo, and then that sweetened coconut milk that's going to help balance that. We've got crunch from the pepita, and that cotija is going to add us a little bit of salt. This is exactly what the doctor ordered. This is delicious. I'm going to keep eating. I hope you make this. Again, you don't have to cook your own pumpkins. Go buy a couple cans of pumpkin puree for this beautiful soup. It is delicious. Thanks everybody for being here. Love y'all. I'll see you soon. And until next time, safe cruising.